Welcome to the first of 3 webinars on Learn How Your Energy Works through Human Design. This is for entrepreneurs, professionals, and impact leaders. First, we will start with understanding what human design is. Then we'll go to each of the areas, so mind, communication, energy, and stress separately, where I will ask you to auto-evaluate each area. But before we start, I would like to make sure that everyone can take notes and everyone will have their human design chart. If you don't have one, go to Grete Merlin, my name. So gretemerlin.com/calculate your chart. Who am I to begin with? My name is Grete Merlin Kaljumäe. I'm from Estonia. That's why I have a weird name. I have been an employee in marketing agency, a freelancer for some years, a founder of 2 startups, a leader in profit and non-profit organizations, and today I'm self-awareness and leadership coach. So I use coaching and training for stronger leaders, better teams, and healthier workplaces. Usually we grow up thinking that we want to be someone else because maybe we see that our friend is more charismatic or the other person is more calm in stressful situations, or we kind of admire others and we tend to want to be like others. But human design helps us understand not how others are different from us, what we usually see, but how we are different from others. So it points the eyes back to ourselves. So how are we different? How do we function? Human design is a tool for introspection. So it helps us to understand ourselves better. At its basics, that's why I put some planets and some turbulence in this slide, is because at the basics of human design, it says that we are consistently bombarded by those small particles called neutrinos. And as they travel through space and go through different objects in space, including us, they bring with them some information. And when we are born, like literally separate from our mothers, so we have this imprinting, and this imprinting in human design is our chart. And in this chart, we have lots of information. You can see that there are numbers, there are those forms, centers, colored, white, lots of things going on here. Because there is a lot of information about you. And if we want to even go further and see like how detailed a human design chart can be, like if you go to see that one aspect here, for example, this macro characteristic can go down to so much detail that your one activation here is like one of those small lines somewhere, right? Because it's like very specific. Your chart is literally 1 out of almost 1,800,000 possible combinations, which makes it a tool of huge, of huge potential to really dive deep into ourselves. But back to our scope of today's webinar, and let's start with the mind. I would like to ask you to rate from 1 to 5. How satisfied are you with how you manage your mind? How good are you at observing your thoughts, overcoming anxieties, finding harmony within your mind, seeing opportunities in difficult situations also? How satisfied are you from 1 to 5 with your level of mind management? Now, in human design, the mind is made of 2 colored forms, the upper 2 parts. The first part, the upper part of the mind, is all about inspiration, questions, mental pressure. So everything we have in our chart, so you see your chart like this, similar. Everything that you have white, everything that's white in your chart. So here we see 4 white centers, but well, there are also lots of white lines, but let's talk about centers in this webinar. So everything that is white is absorbing in, is listening its environment, is really like sensitive parts that we have. Those are the parts that are flexible in us, that we use to learn others, to learn our world around us. So if we think about communication, like listening, getting information versus speaking, giving information, everything that is white is listening its environment. It's sensitive to it. While everything that is colored in, so we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 centers that are colored in, right? This is what speaks. This is what gives the impact to the world around us. This is where we are coming from. The aspects that are consistently active in us, that we understand as our macro characteristics, as our way of functioning. Okay, so as we go to the mind, this is the theme here are inspirations, questions, and mental pressure. So the pressure to ask all the questions to understand what is going on in our world. If you have this colored in, there's this specific way you inspire other people. Your brain is like consistently on, always thinking, always asking all these questions, having those inspirations coming out of nowhere. Because these people who have, if you have this colored in, you're the kind of people who really is here to inspire others, who has their specific way of thinking, and the brain demands its process, by the way. So meditating, like let go all of your thoughts, is not happening, unfortunately, because the brain needs its system. It needs to elaborate all the time. They are very good at putting everyone under pressure to think. They empower others with their inspiration and with their insights. If you do need some relaxation in your mind, if you do need a little bit of that, I recommend you to meditate with music. Use maybe mantra meditations. Use music. Use things that fill your mind, because your mind is full. If you want to kind of ease it, try to fill it with something else. What happens if we are disconnected from this aspect of ourselves? Most of us usually are disconnected from ourselves. So this looks like thinking and asking things that really don't matter to us. So if we look for inspiration, if we ask all the questions in the world and we find the answers, those answers are not satisfactory for us. They don't give us anything added. And this is exactly what happens when we're disconnected. So we kind of, someone else is curious and we're like, oh, okay, let's look it up, right? But the answer we find is just not for us. We don't care about it, actually. So this is what happens when we are not connected to this kind of functioning. I talked about what happens when it's colored, right? And the disconnected part, by the way, happens to everyone who's disconnected from this. So whether it's colored or not. But what happens if this is white in your chart? That means that there's this open, flexible way of thinking that really depends on others. So these people, we could say that they're not designed to figure things out on their own. They're very sensitive to mental pressure. And in fact, it's a mind that filters the inspiration of others. It's the mind that understands who is confusional, who is making sense, who is really inspirational, whose thoughts and questions really are of huge value. So the people with this openness have the mind of wonder, like really curiosity of how does the intellectual part of human beings work? Like what are all the possibilities of the mind? So they tend to usually be on the spectrum of not connected, but as they kind of let go of the pressure of really needing to look like the smart guy, they actually start to be more open and flexible and seeing the world around them and understanding that the people who usually have this colored usually tend to have this one way of thinking, and so it's quite difficult maybe to communicate in an effective way sometimes if we don't understand what's going on there. But yeah, openness, mind of wonder, mind that takes in the inspiration from others, evaluates it, understands all the different ways of inspiration. And yeah, there could be a way of losing focus very easily. So it's like similar to ADHD. So openness means not holding on to thoughts. That also means not having a consistent access always to your memories. And it kind of looks like ADHD. So you lose focus very easily. And that's the way it works. Because when you hold on to something, you automatically say this yes and everything else no. So I'm focusing on, I don't know, this bow here. So I'm focusing on the bow, this yes, everything else no. So I'm not open. My mind is not open to everything else. So it's the way that it functions. Instead, when we go ahead, there is the second part of the mind, right? This is the mind, this is the part that elaborates. It elaborates thoughts and concepts. It creates from thoughts to language. So it's the processor of our mind. This is the center of mental awareness in human design. So it also teaches us that we are very good at creating anxieties by elaborating what's going on in our world. So we create anxieties by ourselves, with our mind. But the good thing is, at least from human design perspective, that it teaches that we shouldn't actually make decisions with our minds because they're very effective as processors, as analytical tools, so pros and cons of everything in the world. But does it know what is actually satisfactory for us? So we actually, from human design perspective, mind is an awesome tool to analyze the world around us, understand what's going on, but it's not an awesome tool for decision making for ourselves. When we are disconnected from this aspect, whether it's color, whether it's white in our graphic, it looks like really trying to appear certain, even if we are not certain, like really like mentally defensive of our ideas. We have this idea that this bow should be horizontal, and I really am defensive of the thing that this bow, in order to be a bow, is horizontal, while someone else maybe says, "Oh, but if we put it in this way, it could be like some kind of other bow." I don't know. It's just an example, but there is this element of being very defensive mentally and holding on to our own ideas, to our own opinions, and not letting anyone else in. But, well, what happens when this is colored? So when it's colored, it means that there is this specific way of elaborating everything that's going around there in our environment. Having their own specific way means also that they're not easily influenced by others because they have their own process, whether it's more logical, more abstract, whatever it is, it's there and they can rely on it. They communicate it to their world. People look for them for their own way of thinking, their own point of view that comes out from it as a byproduct. So this is the part that translates inspirations, questions, all that, metabolizes it and transforms it into language. So this is what is going on here. Some people have more visual way of thinking. Some people have more tactile way. You know, there are different ways that then go down to those numbers that you see in your chart. Here, it's always a good idea to try to open a bit up, you know, to understand that you have your own way of thinking, you have your own opinions, ideas, whatever it is, but also to try to stretch it a little bit to give that openness for others to have their own way of thinking too. You know, we can all coexist in this on the same boat, having everyone different ideas, and that is something that nurtures and gives lots of value. So that's a good thing to exercise and to actually try to also re-elaborate your own ideas that come up, because usually people who have this colored enjoy mental stimulation. So Sudoku, for example, or all those things are very satisfying usually for these people. But what happens if this is white in your chart? What happens is that there is no consistent thought pattern. You kind of adapt your thinking way to the people you're with. So it's like open, fluid, and adaptable thinking pattern, which also means that there could be some envy for the people who really feel like they have their, you know, certainty. They're super certain of their ideas, yet you don't really feel certain about your ideas, and that's perfect because you know there are no certainties in life. Only certainty that might be is death, if you know our future scientists don't kind of hocus pocus something up. Everything else depends on the new data that comes. You know, the research can change, and everything we know about things can change by the new data that someone discovers. So nothing is 100% certain all the time. So there is no consistent thought pattern, I said. There is no necessity to hold on to thoughts or concepts. That's something that needs to be maybe trained out, because as I said, when you focus on one thing and you're, well, with openness in your mind, when you focus on one thing, you cut out everything else. Letting go is a very, very interesting experiment for the people who have the openness in their mind, so that they can really enjoy the different ways that intelligence works, to accept uncertainty, and to really just observe, to be curious about how the minds work, what's going on there. Because also having that openness in your mind makes these people very good at detecting BS. To understanding when people are actually telling their own truth, their own thinking, or they're just, you know, kind of secondhand thinkers. But here, really, sometimes it can be overwhelming to have like seemingly the mind is always on and you don't have much control over it. But here, you can also try to exercise letting go. Really like imagining your mind as if it was waterfall or something like that, letting it go. That's very relaxing for the mind. Or if it's very hard when you're in the middle of people to really like, you can also step away. Step away from the people so you can let your mind ease and meditate in silence and all those things. Now, let's go on to the next one, which is about communication. So the third center here is about words, action, leadership. I would like you to rate from 1 to 5. How satisfied are you with your communication skills? So, are you easily heard? Are you able to make yourself feel heard? Do you use your words and voice intentionally? How good are you at using silence to listen without an agenda or to speak in public? How satisfied are you with your abilities of public speaking, of getting your message through the way you want? Because as I said, here it's all about words, action, leadership. So all the thinking, but also everything else that's in your chart wants to come out and communicate with others. And this is where it happens. When we are disconnected from this aspect of ourselves, it looks like attention seeking. So we either say or behave in a way to achieve attention from others, because otherwise we are not feeling heard. That may also look like sharing when not required. I don't know, doing jokes that actually don't make anyone laugh, putting ourselves, I don't know, a chicken costume and run around the city with that, or, doing those things. But the question here is to really go deep and ask, okay, why? Why am I doing it? Am I doing it because it's genuinely giving me satisfaction and I'm having lots of fun? Or am I doing it to have attention? That's different, very different. Now, when this is colored, it means that there is a specific way that we can trust of communicating. Doesn't mean that like we always talk the same way and we can't learn anything new. That depends on what is colored, because there are lots of ways to connect to this center, and everything that remains white is always a way to learn more. But everything that is colored, so you can see like color coming out from somewhere here, that means that there is this specific way in that macro characteristic. For example, if you can see like there is a line here that connects straight from the communication to the mind, that means that you speak your mind. That's like very easy. Like when you think, it comes out like milliseconds in your voice. So you kind of speak your mind all the time. If it comes from the power center here that we will discuss in the next webinar, that is a voice of I want, I will, me, mine. It's more egoistic in that sense, and it's healthy for them to have some ego in their communication and in their action. There's also this very strong leadership of me, mine, that looks like the king or the queen metaphor, for example. Or when it comes from the emotions that we will also cover in the next webinar, this is like coloring your words and actions with emotion. Extreme examples are poems, music, dancing. Those are all the parts, we color our actions, we color our words with emotions. Instead, when it comes from our instinctual part, the body awareness center, well-being, that we'll also cover in the next one. This is like very spontaneous way of speaking. So basically you kind of tell your instinct right out without even it's like thinking it out before it comes out. So there's this fun dynamic of, oh, I discover it while I'm speaking. So it's fun to observe. But when it comes, for example, directly from our energy center, this one we will cover in this webinar. This is literally speaking and doing in action. What does it look like? It looks like, oh, I need to send that email. Oh, going right in action and sending an email. Or, a person says, oh, we should go do shopping. And you're like, oh, okay, right up, going shopping. It's like literally whatever comes at you, you're like, okay, yeah, doing it right away. So it's the talking and action directly in response to the world around us. When it comes from this one here, our identity presence center, right up to the communication, it's really speaking from a very personal place. So everything we say feels very personal. It's as if our words were who we are. So when someone criticizes it, there is this tendency of like, hiding, not talking anymore, like a tortoise, tucking in. So there are different ways that our body brings this energy towards communication and the different ways we communicate. But if it's colored, it's specific and we can rely on it. But what happens when this is white? And there are lots of people who have this white, by the way. This looks like a very versatile voice. It depends on the audience you're with. It depends on the people you surround yourself with. And they're naturally silent. Maybe as kids, they were naturally silent. But yeah, their system comes depending on their audience. They can have lots of wisdom on how to behave, how to communicate, and all around communication. But it depends. The words that come out, the way it comes out, they are very adaptive with their language. They could be like very good at learning languages. Like there is a very versatile adaptation of the voice, the language, the action. And here it's very important for them to share, to communicate only when it's asked for, when they are recognized for it. Because otherwise, they feel like they're not heard. There is this feeling of being invisible when they share without someone asking. So that's the trick there. They need to be in the environment where people recognize them for their wisdom, so that they ask for them to tell their opinion. And there, when they speak, it's like, wow, all that coming out. So yeah, trick here is to share when asked and to use this wisdom, to really dig in, like how does they communicate? Like how does this person that I really admire communicate? Like what's the pros cons? Who's very good at communicating? So this is their superpower. Going on to energy. So rating from 1 to 5, how satisfied are you with your energy management? What I mean by that. How good are you at delegating activities that drain your energy? To stop working and allow yourself to rest? To wake up refreshed and full of energy? Do you wake up refreshed and full of energy? To create time for reflection and planning? To use your energy for activities that give you the most satisfaction? So from 1 to 5, what's the energy management level? What is this here? It's the energy that, if we put it as a sound, it's as the bees, it's that energy that's literally there. It's like a battery within us. It has within it the sexuality, the creativity, the availability to do something or not, the persistence, the energy to actually do something for long term and have lots of satisfaction out of it. It's the vital energy that works within us in response, only in response. What does that mean? Okay, so I have a bottle of water. I see the water bottle on my table and my organism goes like, oh, water. It goes in response to something I see around in my environment. I have my phone here charging and I go at it and I listen to my body and it says, phone. It says, no, I don't have energy for the phone. Everything in our environment triggers something in that energy center. It triggers a yes or no, binary, very easy. Yes, no. Whatever we feel, what I'm talking about, actually, this is not for everyone. So yeah, step back. What happens if we are disconnected from this? It means that we don't know when to stop doing something. There's excessive, too much enthusiasm around things, and it kind of feels a bit, over. You're doing too much. It's like grungy or, over the limits, not knowing when to stop. So depleting our energy. When it is colored, and most of us have it colored. So here comes the part that I was already describing. There is the consistent energy within us to stay on the tasks, on specific things. We have this battery that kind of recharges every night that we can count on. There's a reliable source of energy, and we usually throw it left and right. We don't care so much about it because it's always there. But the thing is that if we use this energy for too much things, for too much things that remove, that deplete our energy, then we burn out. That's the way it goes. So it might be hard to stay still for these people because they have lots of energy to do things. And as I said, it functions in response. So when someone comes at me with an idea, I can listen to my body and understand, oh, I have energy. I don't have energy. It's yes or no, binary. As soon as I observe that my decision has kind of a logical, I don't know, yeah, it's a good idea to go there because I have new collaborations if I go to this networking event. This already means that I'm not listening if I have the energy to go there or not. It means that my mind thinks it's a good idea. But it doesn't mean that I'm listening actually to my gut feeling, because this is what we're talking about. We're talking about our gut feeling. This is colored. We have a consistent GPS within us that we can reliably ask if something is a good idea for us or not. And there is a consistent pattern here that usually looks like, I don't know, for example, I learn a piano, me know, but my sister, yeah. There is the first level. You're kind of not good at playing the piano, but you have the energy to go there, right? You do the repetitions because you have the energy for it. But you kind of feel stuck in that level until there's the moment that you actually master a new level. Now you're intermediate, maybe, right? So you practice, you have that energy. Your body gives you the energy to go on. Even when you feel stuck, you still have the energy to go on until the next level. So it's like this kind of stair-like functioning of this energy. And you can see if you're putting your energy in the projects that you love, because you have, even if you feel stuck, you have the power, the energy to consistently persist in that activity. If you don't have it, it means that probably you did the decision with your mind or with, help of someone else. But it didn't come from your body's availability to actually do something. And here, everyone is different. One person really loves to make shoes. Another person really loves to play the piano. Everyone has their own source of satisfaction. So yeah, it's a very good way to actually find your path to whatever project you want to do, whatever your career you want to pursue. What happens if this is white in your graphic? It means that the impulse to do or not to do is inconsistent. You can't rely on it. Sometimes it's there, but also then you can't really be 100% sure that it's getting you the right way. So you can't really rely on it. You can understand what I'm talking about, but it's not always there. But, well, there are other aspects in your design that you can rely on and that you can use to make decisions for yourself. But this is not the one. So use the others. And to understand that, I probably would recommend to do a private human design reading, analysis. But okay, so this is open. It means that you're very sensitive to this energy level. If you're in an office working together with other people, you probably feel like, oh, I have lots of energy, because people who have this color, the B people, they feel like cups of coffee for your system. So there's like this, not absorbing, you're not taking away others' energy, no. It's more like surfing it. It's the like surfing the energy of others and having lots of it all around, and you're like, oh yeah, let's go party. It's 10 p.m., everything's done, everyone's tired, and you're like, oh, okay, where's the after party? So this is probably the system going on, surfing on the energy, because it's very sensitive. So usually people who have this open tend to be very, very wise about the use of energy. So using the energy, who is good at what, where. Very like understanding what gives satisfaction to people around you, how to use the energy in most efficient ways. But yeah, the challenge here is actually to surrender to the buzz of the bee, and without necessarily getting involved in everything, without necessarily you don't need to do everything. Let the things let them be done by the people who find lots of satisfaction, actually generate energy by doing things. So yeah, they can be very good at putting teams together, at guiding people to best use of their energy, to help them manage their energy. But the thing is that they themselves, if you have this white in your chart, means that you need rest. You need to understand what is yours to do, what is not yours to do, because you don't have that consistent energy all the time. So it means that energy management is number one priority. Understanding actually what needs to be done by you, what can be delegated, and rest, rest, rest. Usually the regular work hours do not work for them. It's not made for like 30% of population on Earth. Does not function on this regime. They need more rest. Going on, we're going towards stress. In human design, there is also a center for stress adrenaline system. So I would like you to rate from 1 to 5. How satisfied are you with your stress management? So how good are you at assessing the urgency of tasks and activities? Are you able to remain calm when the deadline is near? To use the pressure to mobilize others, for example? So, are you good at putting others just under the right pressure? That's not too much, but just that helps us go to the next level, to arrive to a goal in right time. How good are you at avoiding being influenced by the stress of others? So everyone's running right and left. Everyone's in a hurry, right? How good are you at avoiding to be part of it, to manage the moments where everyone's in a hurry? This is the center of drive, adrenaline. This is what brings us to evolve to the next level, go through the challenges. Stress is helpful. It's helpful for growth. It's helpful for survival. There is a healthy amount of stress that is very minimal, sometimes happens, not all the time, not what's going on in the world, right? Being stressed every day is detrimental at all levels. So I'm not saying that stress is good, like an ounce per day. No, stress is when the lion comes, right? And the lion doesn't come every day, or we should like move countries. When we are disconnected from our stress center, it feels like a pressure pot. We might be in too much hurry. So literally like there are lots of things to do and we go like, what's it called? The flipper? No, there was this game where there was the ball like going all around the screen, right? We literally run left and right. Is it productive? We feel like it is, but when it's looked from outside, from the other people, it looks hectic. It looks like disorganized. It doesn't feel organized productivity. It feels like you're just hustling. Doesn't look professional, even if it feels like it. or it's being frozen almost as if right when there is too much pressure going on. So like all the things to do and I'm just frozen. I can't make it. So there's the two polarities of what it could look like to be disconnected from your own stress management system. Okay, but now let's dig into what happens when you're colored or white. So colored means that there is this specific way that we can rely on about how we process, metabolize, and release our stress. We are probably more comfortable in a stressful environment than the ones who are open, like sensitive to the stress. So we are very good also at putting other people under stress. With great power comes great responsibility, as the uncle of Spider-Man said. So the colored stressed people can feel comfortable having a huge to-do list and just checking, I don't know, I do this, this, and this today. Rest, let's go. See you tomorrow, right? This is the difference usually between the two. One is comfortable at having lots of things going on at the same time, maybe stressful, and they can manage. They have their own system to manage it. The other, not so much, feeling like everything needs to be done probably at the same time. Also, not putting under stress the others if it's not necessary. So if you say something that others need to do and it's not in a hurry, it's a good idea to say, no hurry, but I would like you to do this. Just to not put others under unnecessary pressure. So yeah, there's their own way of metabolizing that then depends on everything else that's going on, like what's actually colored here, right, near your pressure center here of stress. What instead happens when this is white? This feels like a pressure pot, very sensitive to the stress in others. This means that you can step back and observe the stress of others, understand who is stressed, who is okay, what's the stress level there, maybe guiding, managing stress level in others, which also uh, which also means that I don't necessarily need to succumb to the stress. There's no do quick right now for me because it's not healthy for me. There is no consistent way of metabolizing stress. So the stress can be like huge on my system. It's important to learn to step back, to go into my safe space of stillness when I need it. So when people put you under pressure, one step back. More pressure, two steps back, right? Because it's not sustainable for the system. In the long run, it can bring inflammation, it can bring physical problems. It's very important that we listen to our body. And everything that I said until now in this webinar, it's important that we, yes, take notes, but then that we also observe how does it function in our system? How does it function in my body? Do I see this happening? In the past, when I was in a hectic situation, what happened? How did I feel? Did I froze? Did I go to run around like a ping pong ball? Like what happened? Am I able to preserve my space and observe others hustling like, tornadoes around? Or do I feel like I need to do everything? So yeah, observing, discerning, understanding what's my pressure, what's their pressure, who needs to do what here, everything, every part where we are sensitive, open, our body is listening to the other's energies. It's always a good idea to observe what's mine, what's others, how does others work, curiosity, learning there, but then bringing home what's valuable for me and not thinking that, like, not taking personally the part of others. It's just a matter of communication. The next webinar will be on Saturday, March 29th, 2025. Same time, same place. We will talk about emotions, well-being, power and sense of direction. Stay tuned. You can also scan this if you want to connect with me, see what's going on. Follow me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm Grete Merlin. See you on the next one.